time for the GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring in a subject matter expert to tell us what's noteworthy in one of our core ArcGIS products.
And today we welcome back my partner in crime, Alison O'Brien. She's our resident expert for all things ArcGIS Pro. Hi, Alison, welcome back.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here again. And today we're talking about something that the product itself isn't new, but there's a lot of new features. I know we're going to be looking at this Spatial Analyst extension for ArcGIS Pro, but not necessarily everybody is familiar with it. So maybe could you just start off by telling us what it is and what kind of problems it helps solve for GIS professionals?
Yeah, so the Spatial Analyst, so it's an extension in ArcGIS Pro, and it provides a comprehensive set of tools that we like to call spatial analysis tools. So it allows you to perform various types of spatial analysis, such as surface analysis, suitability modeling, distance analysis, and then statistical analysis. So you can analyze raster and vector data to derive new information and then gain insights into your geographic data. So it can help GIS professionals, for example, like in the overlay analysis tool set, you can overlay multiple raster layers to create a new output layer. So this can be used for tasks like overlaying land cover and elevation data to identify areas prone to flooding.
Awesome, yes. And I've used Spatial Analyst a little bit, but it is pretty deep in terms of its analytical processing. But I'm sure there's a lot of important features that are out there. And as our podcast loves to do, we love to talk about what's new. So maybe highlight some of the key improvements and new features that have been introduced with ArcGIS Pro 3.3.
Yeah, I'm super happy to share this information. So, in the suitability modeler toolset, they've added an option to exclude restricted locations. They've added an option to create reports, and then they've enhanced the user interface by improving the appearance and then ease of use. Next up, they've improved the density analysis toolset. So they've created some great algorithmic updates to the space-time kernel density tool. And then there's been an update to the distance analysis toolset. So the distance accumulation and distance allocation tools have two new options for analyzing the amount of vertical effort it takes to move over the landscape. And then one more thing I'd like to mention is that there's been an update to the surface analysis toolset. So for the surface parameter tools, in the output raster, a customized default renderer is now applied to make the results from various settings of the parameter type more like visually distinctive. So we're really stoked about that update.
Thanks, Allison. Lots of great new stuff, and honestly, good work on all the terms. I swear, Spatial Analyst has some of the biggest mouthfuls in the ArcGIS Pro suite. Lots of stuff to say. I don't like reading it out loud. It's more of a look at inside kind of thing. But I know that you mentioned a lot of new features, and one of the ones that I am really interested in because I've used the tools a lot is the new exclusion feature for suitability modeling. Because I've done suitability modeling before, and these new features sound pretty interesting. How does that new feature enhance analysis for users? Like, what is it really doing?
Yeah, so when you're doing suitability analysis, there are times when certain locations aren't needed and shouldn't be considered. So there's two primary reasons for this. One could be because you don't know what is at the location, and therefore those cells representing those locations are assigned a no data value. And then the other reason could be because you do know what's there. So sometimes you need to prevent or like restrict the locations from being considered in the analysis. So with that being said, now there's an option to exclude these locations, and they're referred to as a restricted location. So this option enhances the analysis process for users because it provides like a more accurate interpretation of the landscape in regards to the type of analysis that you're trying to do. So for example, in a suitability model, you're trying to identify like the best location to site things or an area to preserve. If you're trying to find a location to build a housing development, for example, you would want to exclude areas around a protected landscape, so a wetland or a lake. So this would be done with the exclusion feature.
Wow, that is way over my head, but I'm sure somebody, somebody understands what that means.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense.
Okay, perfect. Another new feature that you mentioned earlier was vertical effort analysis. And I honestly have no idea what that is either. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what that is, maybe how it's different from traditional cost distance analysis, and if you can, maybe share a real world example of how this feature can be used.
Yeah, definitely. So, the vertical effort or the vertical factor represents the effort to overcome landscapes. So, there are two vertical factor options that were added. So, hiking time is one of them. So, this can be applied to determine the time it would take to hike from any source to any location using the most optimal route. And then the next one that was added is the bi-directional hiking time. So this finds the average time to hike one direction in an out and back trail, hiking trail, along the most optimal route. So an example of how you would use this like a vertical factor or like a vertical effort would be to include it when we're trying to find how long it would take a firefighter to traverse a landscape as they need to quickly and efficiently reach a wildfire to contain it, right? So terrain plays a really crucial role in determining the best route. So your vertical effort analysis can be used to calculate the energy expended by firefighters climbing uphill or descending downhill, and it does this by incorporating the cost distance analysis. And then the optimal route can be determined when you're considering both the horizontal distance and then the vertical ascent and descent. So this helps to minimize firefighter fatigue and then like increase their safety in the long run.
Yeah, that's a really great addition. It makes a lot of sense because I certainly know that if I'm, going up a hill, I'm taking a lot more effort than just walking straight. So it's good that they've added that in because it makes a little bit more realistic results. So exciting addition for spatial analyst. Thanks. But I know that we've talked about a couple different features, and obviously there's a lot people can read more about what's been added. But is there any other feature that you really wanted to highlight that you found exciting or important about this update that people should know about?
Yeah, so one final update that I wanted to add that I haven't mentioned yet is that there was an improvement to the solar radiation toolset. So for the feature solar radiation and raster solar radiation tools, a new parameter is available that you can use to control the speed and accuracy of the computations for solar analysis. Okay, so this is called the sun map grid level. So when the sun map grid level parameter is set to a lower value, larger sun map areas are used in the solar calculations. So since fewer sun maps are created, the tool runs more quickly, and we always want our tools to run more quickly, right?
Hmm.
And then on the opposite end, you can use a higher value in this parameter. So this will increase your accuracy of the results, but it will also increase the processing time. So you now have that option to have a lower value or a higher value if you want to increase or decrease your processing time.
Wow, you just blew my mind. I had no idea what a sun map level is, so I didn't have that on my bingo card today. So we really appreciate, Alison, all of the cool things that you highlighted in the latest release of ArcGIS Spatial Analyst. So, Alison, thanks for joining us on the pod.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, you guys.
You're the best. That was Alison O'Brien. She is our ArcGIS Pro GeoGeek, and she is, of course, an ArcGIS support specialist with our support services team, and she's calling in from her home in Ottawa.